Welcome guys to a new episode today. We're going to be discussing about sleep deprivation. And I have a guest here who I'm going to let her introduce herself. She's very passionate about psychology. She's very passionate about helping people. So let me give her this opportunity to say 1, 2, 3 things and then we start with the show. Welcome, G.
Thanks a lot, Myles. My name is Kinuthia. I'm a psychologist by profession, and I'm also a coach, an NLP coach, or more of what people would say a life coach. I'm also a founder of an organization called Gicheru. Basically, what we deal with things that are about psychosocial support. By that I mean educating people on things about mental health or wellness about mental health. We also deal with counseling. We also partner with psychiatric facilities in case anybody needs that help, we work with them, and also rehabilitations. That's basically what I do. And then I advocate a lot. Basically that. Anything about mental health, that's what I do. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And where can people find you?
We work in town. We have an office at Viewback Towers, 14th floor. Most of the time, that's where you can find me. On social media, we have Facebook, Twitter, Gicheru Wellness. We also have a website, gicheruwellness.com. Yeah.
All right, thanks so much. So thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Today I wanted to involve you in this unique kind of interesting episode about sleep deprivation. So you can start us off and telling us what is sleep deprivation, how we can understand it. Yeah.
Okay, I think sleep deprivation is basically lack of sleep. When you get to a point where you're not able. Every human being has a system of the normal, what you call the normal. Everybody defines the normal in different ways. The people say normally I sleep for 5 hours. Normally somebody will say I sleep for 10 hours or more than that. Then when it goes maybe lower than the norm, if you used to sleeping for 5 hours and you can no longer sleep, you have to go for hours without sleep. If you used to sleeping for 10 hours and now you're sleeping for only 2 hours, then that's when you're able, according to say you sleeping, you don't have sleep or maybe you're deprived of sleep. But then again, we all know that you're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. So professionally, anybody who is not sleeping or who can't be able on a normal condition to sleep for those 8 hours, then we can be able to confidently say you sleep deprived. Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you a very weird question, or rather something that I read online, to be precise, yeah? So is it true that human beings should sleep, yes, they should sleep 8 hours in a day, but it should be divided like 4 hours, or should it be like a constant 8 hours?
I think I'll tell you, don't believe anything you see online. You seem like the people who come and tell you, according to this, I googled this and I think I'm suffering from this. Anyway, you should sleep for normal 8 hours, like constant 8 hours, and normal that is in a day or at night or whatever, how your schedule is. Then it's also healthy to have like naps in between. There are people who even work and in Kenya, I've not seen that, but I know the people who are outside the country that their working station has napping rooms because it makes you more productive or something, because sleep is important. But on a normal day, you're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Still on that topic of sleep deprivation, like what are the causes of sleep deprivation to someone?
Okay, they're the basic causes. One, it could be stresses, where everybody, like the basic things that we know, somebody could be stressed. It could be a change of environment. It could be a traumatic situation. It could be just decided to take too much coffee and you can sleep and you're not used to that. Any change in your normal or something that alters your normal functionality and then it goes to your brain, then that can change now how you sleep. If your body is not able to adapt to that, then that can end up in that. Then other than that, there are mental health issues, could be anxiety, depression, especially depression. It could be bipolar. One of those can also cause sleep deprivation.
Right.
Yeah.
And
also excitement. I think you remember maybe every time it was Christmas, if you were young, if you ever did that and you had new clothes and you couldn't sleep because you want to put them on,
Yeah, or when you're traveling.
Exactly.
Maybe when you're traveling for the first time, you're like, yeah. Or even maybe your wedding day.
Okay, that could also work.
Yeah. And then another thing, personally for me, like when I was in school, especially high school, primary, we used to wake up so early. We used to sleep late and we used to wake up so early. Do you think that's an issue that should be addressed, especially considering to young kids, both the girls and boys? You're not yet 18 and you're waking up so early, because I used to wake up at 4 a.m.
And sleep at what time?
Around 11, 12, depending. Okay, that's on an individual perspective, because maybe you want to do assignment and all that. But sometimes the sleeping bedtime in school was 10, but wake up at 4. So is that an issue to the kids when they've been woken up early, or it shouldn't be something alarming?
I think when you do 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. in the night, that's enough. Like when you try and do, it's close to 7 to 8 hours, that's fair enough. Now that happens when somebody decides not to do that, or when you want to overstress yourself and your brain wants to rest. For some people they can adapt, for some they can't. So for those who can adapt, good enough for them, because you find that even when you're growing up, we've all developed in different ways. But there's now the standard. Now what we measure with is the standard measures. And there are people when they don't get sleep, they get headaches, they become moody, some are not able to perform. Yeah. So it depends with an individual. But for people who tell their kids, wake up very early, sleep late, I don't know, you need to learn, it could be an issue. Because again, is it willingly or are you operating under pressure? Yeah.
Thank you. Even you're almost answering my next questions. Like, let's say myself, I'm not having enough sleep. What are some of these key symptoms that you would see as a counselor, as a psychologist? What are these some of the symptoms you would see from me having lack of enough sleep?
You see, the thing about sleep is simple. You're not shutting down your eyes. So that is, I think anybody who's not sleeping will be able to say, I didn't close my eyes last night. But now it's the side effects. What happens after that? Or could it be, now when somebody says, I'm not sleeping lately, there are things you have to go back. Are you doing drugs? Are you sick? Do you have a condition? Are you under any medication? Are you stressed? Are you anxious? What's happening? For how long has it been going on? Did you change your diet? Did you change your environment? Are there those hidden things? Because at times people are subconsciously stressed. Whether you can find you under pressure or subconsciously depressed, it's mild and you have not noticed. So that could be, hey, lately I don't sleep. I think I need to reach out to somebody. So at that point, that's when now you start going back, what has been happening, and a professional can be able to help you, maybe to come up with ways or skills, behavior change or cognitive changes that could be able to help you now to get back to your normal routine. And then again, we have to see, what are you doing? Normal according to what, or normal towards how is your lifestyle? Yeah.
Okay. So some of these effects that you might see or from an individual is like what?
The effects of
sleep deprivation.
Okay, one, it could be low performance, especially if you're working in a company. It could be irritation, anger. It could be even your health wise. There are people who are going to get migraines. There are people who are going to be distracted. Also, maybe when you go to a doctor, the doctor can get to check maybe your physicality, which I'm not able to do that. And the people, I believe there are times you've gone to a doctor and they asked you, you're not eating well, have you been sleeping, have you been taking enough water? So there's some of those things. But since this, I feel there's something, okay, this sleep deprivation is something that's basic. So once you notice you're not sleeping 1 day or 2 days, your pattern has been altered, and then that's a warning sign. Don't wait for you not to sleep for 1 month. As long as you've not slept like it used to be, you used to sleep at 8 p.m. and then a week has gone, lately you don't, unless it's something changing, like you've had maybe a new working routine or something, then that should be a red flag. Yeah.
Okay, so to my next question, what is the age that is mostly affected by sleep deprivation?
Okay, you could say this is not an age factor. It's something that happens across board. For example, how do you say about these newborns, kids that are born and they just decided at night I don't want to sleep, or during the day you say, oh, they just decide today I'm not going to sleep. But mostly even learning by that, you can say it's by altern, maybe when you're uncomfortable. Then at times you find that teenagers can also experience that because of high energy, etc. But for them, what happens is they alternate. Maybe they're active during the nights, and then now they want to sleep in. I think that's why most parents complain. Your job is only sleeping, because now they want to sleep in the morning or something. Also, people, even the working stage, I think it cuts across all lanes or something. Even the older generation, as you get old, maybe are you comfortable with your health, etc. People with old age have different sicknesses or illnesses. Yeah, it's something that cuts across. You can say a specific age, like when you get 15 to 16, or when you're 30 to 35. This is the age people don't sleep. No.
even that will, even your at least, thank you for mentioning about babies. Is this one thing I've noticed? Most babies, I don't know if it's true, you let me know, yeah. But babies have this tendency of they sleep during the day, they sleep, and then at night they don't sleep. They are wide awake, especially when a mother like has just given birth. Those few weeks, I think 2 months, like the baby does not sleep at night, but during the day it's a dead asleep. So what can you say about, is that sleep deprivation or it's just a normal thing babies do?
I think for basics, this is a child who was just being in the stomach. Now they've been brought on. They're also trying to learn. And also I think there are things that parents can do. Their sleeping patterns. One is able to introduce sleeping patterns. If you want a child to sleep at this point, though a small child is supposed to sleep up to close to 20 hours or so. So for them, then if they can sleep at night, it shows there's something they're uncomfortable about. I think even kids just don't wake up and decide to cry. Most people assume like this child just loves crying or something. Are they fed well? Are they comfortable? Then this is the only way they communicate. If they're hungry, they cry. If they're wet, they cry. If they're sick, they cry. So you can't be able to say they just can't sleep. It's just their only way of communicating. Yeah.
All right. So what about for grown-ups? How, let's say someone has the sleep deprivation disorder.
Yeah.
How, as a grown-up, can they handle it? Is it the same with the babies, like to have a pattern, or how can someone change their, to be able to get like 7 hours of sleep, the minimum 7 hours of sleep? How can an adult do that?
I think, okay, sleep deprivation is just a symptom of one many things. So when you working towards it, you can't just say that this is what you start. It's the same way people say, I'm stressed. If you're stressed, it could mean you're having financial issues, it could mean you're depressed or something is happening, you're anxious or etc. So when you're trying to solve it as an individual thing, you have to look across where you're not sleeping. Maybe you are unwell and the doctor decided to give you, medication that's making you hyperactive or that's making you not sleep. Is there a change in your lifestyle? Are you heartbroken? Are you anxious about something? Did you get a promotion and you can't sleep for the next 1, 2, 3 because you're trying to be perfect in your new job? I think the first thing to look at, what's the root cause? The moment you realize it's a cycle, you're not sleeping, can you stop and think, why am I not sleeping? Why have I changed and how is it affecting my life? Yeah.
So what of in terms of athletics? Because you see, we find out that some of the athletes, they do so much. Like they wake up early in the morning to work out. Again, now they have to go, let's say if someone is playing a sport like, let's say American football, someone has to be in the field by, let's say maybe around 9 a.m. And after that, has to hit the gym. As an athlete, how should be your sleep pattern? Because I think the more you overwork your body, the more you need sleep, right? Or it's different?
I think, again, different types of people, overworking is totally different to different people. For an athlete, maybe that's the only thing they're doing for life. They wake up, train, that's their routine system. It's the same way, maybe if you're not into, like for example, if I was put in a bank, told to calculate accounts, I think I'd want to sleep after every 1 hour or so because that's not my norm. I'm used maybe to having conversations with people, I'm not a numbers person, and for me that will be tedious. But then when you find that there's an athletic person, there's an athlete, what do they do? How do they feed? Well, how is their nutrition? At what time? Plus you're forgetting you have 24 hours in a day. So I think there's a lot you can achieve with 16 hours unless you're not good at time management. Then also that now becomes a thing because somebody, if they're not good at time management, they want to eat up with the sleeping time. They want to push past when they can sleep. But I also think even, as you said, athletes, they have a schedule, they train with a schedule. So for them, and they work with a nutritionist, they have a coach, etc. So they have a planned schedule. And I think every professional caters in for that, 8 hours of sleep or even 9 hours of sleep. And there's also rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let me ask you, what advice will you give to certain people in general, both young, old, boys, girls, in terms of sleep? I think sleep is really important.
Yeah, true.
In a person's life. That's when the body, as you say, shuts down and you relax. You get energy for the next day. So what advice would you give for schools, especially schools, like how they should look at the sleeping pattern of kids, and workplaces, like how people should behave, and in an individual setting, because also as adults, you're your own responsibility. So you should have enough rest. Your boss wouldn't care whether you come early or late, as long as you are at the workplace. So how you sleep doesn't really matter. So what advice will you give for people to have enough sleep, and can you tell people how important it is to have a good night's sleep?
I think sleep has a lot to do with time management. And most of the people that you find on the basic stages, unless you're unwell or you're undergoing something, transition or change, most people who intentionally or subconsciously eat over their sleeping time or go past their sleeping time is because they lack time management skills. As I said, we have 24 hours in a day. You only need 8 hours to sleep, so that means you have 16 whole hours you can plan for to do a lot of things. So when you're talking in terms of school, I think when you look at a school setup, most schools you wake up at 4 a.m. And I don't think at my age I never used to wake up at that time. So I don't know how schools are organized now. But then again, I think we used to go sleep at 9:30 or 9 or something. But when you count the time in between, that's well get at 8 hours a day. Then you find you have break time, you have prep time. There's that time where you can, decide to rest, read a book, or do something. Because at times, it's not even more about sleeping. There are people who can go to sleep, but actually, they just went to bed, they didn't close their eyes, their brain didn't shut down, it's still functioning and they're asleep or something. You see. So I think then when you bring in the issue of work, is also something else you need to factor in. Your boss will never come plan for you at what time you need to leave your house or where you need to, what you need to do. Your boss just needs you at work, 8 to 5. That's it in most cases. And when you find other places where they have overtime, at times you even get paid for that. But it's upon and be responsible enough. You have to move closer to your workplace. What can you do for yourself? If you're overworking, or you feel like you've been overworked or you have a lot of work, how do you plan for your time? How do you plan your schedule? Is there a way you can get somebody to work? Can you find skills to make your work easier so that you don't end up spending more time that you're supposed to be resting or even sleeping, but you end up thinking, I need to work at this time. I think 16 hours are too many. Yeah.
Okay, because on a personal level, like when I remember back in school, like, okay, we had the time, you had to sleep by around 10, wake up by 4, but the workload is so many that you find yourself like, maybe in the class till maybe 12. Some students used to like read till late, others used to wake up early, and I'm also sure most people right now in this working environment, since we have now the superhighway, people tend to live far from workplace because they know like they'll get to work fast, but you find themselves, because of the traffic, they wake up so early, so early, and then they sleep late because they have other responsibilities at home. So you find people like having less sleep, and you find these people cranky, you find these people and all that. So yeah, I think people should really check their time schedule, and once you have enough rest, everything else will like fall into place, especially whatever you are doing. Yeah. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and helping us understand sleep deprivation. I hope to our guests they have understood what we have talked about. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any few last words you have for us?
Okay, I'll still go back to sleep. The issue about sleep at times, unless you're unwell or unless there are changing factors, time management is key. Because most of the time, if you don't plan even to intentionally go to bed, you'll find that you'll have a movie, you'll have luxury, you'll have friends over. Just be intentional about it, and you can save a lot. You can save on medication, you can save on seeing a doctor, seeing a counselor. You're not cheap. So seeing a psychologist, you can save a lot of money on that, yeah. So take care of it, and you make yourself a priority, yeah.
Alright guys, there you have it. Thank you for joining us today. See you next time guys. Be blessed. Thank you.